So I think we're ready to start the teardown. If you're joining us, we're going to be taking apart this nifty little device called an Oculus Rift. Anyone know what this is? This guy? No one? No one? Okay. This is a, I don't know, it's fair to say the future of gaming, maybe?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. This gets you inside the game. So if you've ever wondered what it's like to come around a corner in a first-person shooter and get freaked out by like a demon or something, this will get you as close to actually that reality as you can probably get. So we're going to take it apart, see what makes it tick. Some of the tools of the trade here. Mm-hmm. We have this lovely kit. Basically anything we need to get into a device, this has got it. Most consumer electronic devices. We really need some of these other tools, and you'll see me use these tools as I'm opening it up. This is a spudger, as you can see. This is a hardened piece of plastic. Basically, if your fingernail is strong enough, you probably will use your fingernail, but if not, you want this. You know, it's great for getting into like a metal device that you don't want to scuff up. Mm-hmm. You know, so very beneficial. As you can probably see, there's a lot of dental tools in here. As you'd imagine, dental tools are really great for getting into things and like prying open things, and so we apply that logic to this. Tweezers, ESD, if we needed it. We're not too concerned about that right now. So we're going to talk about the Oculus Rift. Before we start off, overall impressions, you like this thing?
I love it. Oculus Rift is really cool.
Are you a gamer?
Sometimes, used to be.
Yeah.
So for a gamer, it's really, really awesome. It's got lenses inside that set up this sort of stereoscopic 3D effect. You're looking into this headset and seeing the game spread out in front of you.
Let's give him a little, because this is not only awesome to use, it's incredibly stylish.
So Eric's going to model it for us.
Pardon me, glasses.
And what's really great about the device, it's really light. It just fits on his head there. Won't even notice it.
In case you're wondering, I'm seeing nothing right now, so.
It's not turned on.
Yeah. And you were saying that as people start playing, they actually tend to start doing this?
Yeah, pretty much everyone we have try it, they'll be looking off to the left and up in the air.
And why
not
is
even
that
realize
again?
it.
They just don't realize that they...
Yeah. So actually moving your head, there are motion sensors in the headset here that's going to register that. If you're used to a first-person shooter game where you're moving the mouse to look around, that takes over that action. So you're looking around with your head instead of with the mouse. And then the mouse is just changing how your body's positioned in the game. Mm-hmm. So it gives you a whole other axis of control, basically, in 3 axes.
Yeah, and is there a fear of motion sickness or something? Did you guys experience that when you tested it?
There's definitely some motion sickness.
Okay.
There's a lot of really precise calibrations you can do, different size lenses, different focal length. And if you don't do that, you're probably going to get motion sick in 10 minutes.
So the calibration is just as important as the device itself.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So cool. Well, let's get into it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Also, this is how awesome you look while you're using it at a Starbucks.
That's what I look like, huh?
That's the future.
So we need to clarify. This is the development kit.
Right.
So thankfully, this company is smart enough to realize that people do not want to wear something this ugly, right? So there is a commercial release that we are expecting to release in sometime 2013,
probably holiday season.
Holiday season, yeah. So Xbox One is probably going to come out sometime around there. I don't know about the new PlayStation, but yeah. So to try and coincide it with everything else.
We are going to be actually showing you some live video of taking the device apart in just a moment. But real quick, we want to talk a little bit about how successful it was. This started off as a Kickstarter that raised $2.4 million. Who
knows what a Kickstarter is? Okay, half of you. Okay, that's much better than the last time we did this presentation, like 3 months ago. So I think that it's incredible to see how quickly Kickstarter is becoming a modern thing.
Right. And then was just recent, and that Kickstarter produced this. That was their development kit. You could buy this for, I think, $600 as a pre-order and get it and play with it. But now they're gearing up for the commercial release, which is going to look more like that, streamlined and sexy. They've just received $16 million from private investors. We just found out about this today. So they're really going to jumping into gear, hopefully for the holiday season this year.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a premium gaming device. Yeah, it also really looks familiar, right?
Does anyone remember the Nintendo Virtual Boy?
No? Chuckles, I thought.
Couple people here.
Yeah.
So this
I love the Virtual Boy.
This was produced for a couple years. Didn't really last long. Didn't really catch on. The thing weighs about 8 pounds, so you're not going to wear it on your head. You set it on the table and put your head in it. And it was a really, really old stab at kind of what this is. It had sort of a 3D effect with red lights and only one color.
Yeah, it was red. It was all you saw was red. Black and red.
And I think the thing automatically shut off every half hour so you didn't get motion sickness. So we did a teardown of the Virtual Boy at iFixit a year or so ago when we were doing a vintage gaming week. And just so you can see, this device is going to be a lot different from where it was. The Virtual Boy was really complex. It used actually moving mirrors to generate the 3D effect. And there was a lot that went into it.
And this is a final layout. So when we take something apart, we usually do a final layout to kind of lay its innards bare, and you can see, all the different components side by side.
So the Oculus Rift is much more integrated circuits, smarter, smaller, lighter. You're going to see it's highly evolved from this sort of early, similar device.
Yeah, too bad the design didn't involve.
Yeah.
I'd rather wear that. Mm-hmm. So tell us about the gyroscope.
Right.
Kind of how does it detect motion?
So built into the front here, there's a little circuit board that we're going to see once we get this thing open that holds both a gyroscope and an accelerometer. The accelerometer is used to detect motion in all three axes. The gyroscope is used to calibrate against drift from the accelerometer. I had that exactly switched. Gyroscope detects the motion along each axis, and the accelerometer is used to calibrate because that's always going to feel gravity, so you always have a fixed point of down. Gyroscope will measure angular rotation in all three directions. And that's what gets sent back to the computer through this control box to register your mouse movements.
And that's the incredibly hard part that everyone is so excited about this product for.
Right.
Because, you put a video screen, you got like displays right there, and there's some cool things they're doing with the optics, but for the most part, like being able to effectively track, and we don't realize that we have such a gifted brain that knows exactly and expects exactly what you see, and does all this, computational math in your brain to make that seem real. As soon as you're like the smallest off on this calculation, what you're seeing, or if it's lagging a little bit, your brain knows. And so it's very sensitive to that.
And that's when you start to get motion sick because things aren't right. So it's actually got a very advanced little control system in there that reads those motions that we'll take a look at.
Okay.
Also, we talked about calibrations. There's a focal length adjustment on the sides you can adjust with a quarter. That's part of getting it set up and running.
Yeah. How long did it take to get it set up?
About 2 hours.
2 hours?
Just
really?
to get it configured and set up and running. And this was earlier in the development cycle, so it wasn't quite as streamlined.
Okay, so they've kind of worked through this after
right.
They got the initial run out there.
Yeah.
Okay. And here's a video of what it's like to see it from first-person perspective. This is a game called Team Fortress 2. Anyone heard of TF2? This guy, he knows everything. So you can see he's looking, shot, and then he's looking to his right.
So looking at it like this, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. But
Yeah.
when you've got your face up to it, and there's lenses on each of these displays, which is actually one display that we'll see, everything gets blended together. And then because each display is slightly out of sync, that gives you the stereo effect that makes the 3D.
Yeah. And again, precision is so key with this because your brain is so smart. It will recognize something's not right pretty quickly.
So.
Okay. So do you want me to start taking this apart right now? Or?
Yeah, let's go ahead and move to taking it apart. This is just more of the configuration options. It comes with 3 different size lens for different types of vision. You're not going to want to wear glasses when you have this thing on. So they've got different lens sets to compensate for near or farsighted.
Bummer. I got glasses.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's switch over to the camera. We're just going to kind of show you manually what this looks like. First, what I need to do apparently is take off these little. Oh, is that set there? Okay. Well, we got this guy here just in case we got any screws that are going to want to fly away. I'm going to set up my workspace a little bit better.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay. Now we're cooking with gas. All right. So here's the inside. I'm going to actually turn these to get them removed. And they just kind of nicely pop off there, and you can see. Do we have a video of what it looks like? That's
in the teardown
anyway. Okay.
Yeah.
If you want to check out the teardown, you can kind of get a sense of what this lens is doing. 2 of them just pop off real quick. Oh, this one has a little moisture on it. Okay. Step 1, done. Okay. Now what I need to do, I think, is remove some screws, right?
Yeah.
And that's going to get this display effectively separated from the
headset.
The headset. Okay. So you can't see it, but there's actually 4 screws on the inside there. At iFixit, when we do teardowns, we're very concerned about repairability. This is kind of a niche device, and so you know, we're still going to give it a repairability score, but we evaluate in different ways compared to like a watch or compared to a smartphone. Kind of evaluate it based on the body of work that we see out there, the body of products that we see out there. So I'm almost through this.
So while he's unscrewing, we'll take a look. That's just the difference there after the lens is pulled out. And then here's a nice, beautiful image of what he's doing, what we did in the actual teardown that we conducted a few months ago. And there's a little sneak preview of what he's going to be doing. So we'll jump back and let Eric catch up.
Okay. So I'm effectively just, wow, it just came off super simple. This is, you can tell, this is my first time taking this device apart. So, and point of reference, a teardown is not a repair manual. So if you plan on trying to use this guide to take this apart, this guide is actually okay because
pretty straightforward.
It's very straightforward. But if you wanted to like get into your iPhone or something else that's a little bit more sensitive to, you know, twists and turns and too much force, use the repair manual. A teardown is not going to cover all the different things that you need to be careful of, like ribbon cables getting snagged and stuff like that. So that came off really simply. Oh, and also I'm following along just this app here. So if you wanted to follow along with me, you could use the app. It's got the high-level bullet points. So that was pretty simple. It effectively really much it mirrors a ski goggle mask. I mean, I'm expecting to see like a little lens there. Very
yeah,
much
and I
looks
think
like that.
their really early prototypes were just a ski goggle mask with the lens cut out and a display taped to it.
Yeah.
So they didn't travel too far with the first development prototype.
Okay, so now what am I doing? Am I taking this display off?
Yeah. Grab one of these guys.
Yeah, let's get that opening tool. So again, have the right tool. This is called an opening tool. It used to be the iPod opening tool. But effectively, it's better than a fingernail. You won't scuff things nearly as much than you would if you're using a metal tool. And it's just nice to just pop these tabs open. I don't really have to apply that much force.
Yeah, and this is a soft plastic.
Yeah.
So you're good to use it on other plastic without scuffing or marring it.
Yeah.
It's always good to resist the urge to grab that flathead screwdriver and just jump in there.
Yeah, because that will definitely go to town. Okay, you didn't tell me about this. And again, another reason why you consult a repair manual is that there's a ribbon right there that I don't want to, can't really tell, but I don't want to pull that too hard.
Right.
So how do I effectively separate that, or am I?
Just kind of like that.
Oh, okay, so we're not actually going to cut this cord or anything.
Right, we'll have to keep them together.
Okay. So that is effectively separated. Where do you want to go now?
Now you just have to pry the screen up. It's got a little bit of adhesive that holds it to the backing so it doesn't shake around, but it'll come right forward.
Got a piece of tape that came off with that. There we go. And I actually want a little bit more...
more leverage?
Leverage, exactly. So I'm going to use this longer one. You know, when you're doing things like this, you know, I have Andrew's experience to lean on that I'm not going to break anything. But, you know, you always want to make sure that you're applying force as gentle as possible until it gets to the point where you're pretty sure it's free and clear.
Yeah.
So there's a little adhesive that's still on there that's causing this to be a little bit more painful than it should be.
Yeah, right now he's prying against a little bit of glue. It's a double stick foam tape that just holds the LCD in place. That's the sort of thing that we're usually pretty unhappy about, but for a repairability score for this guy, we threw him a bone as it's just a development model.
Yeah.
And
there we go, I can see the other pad.
Really, it's a
there we go.
Not too terrible to deal with if you know what you're going in at.
Yeah. I'm going to figure out a way to arrange this, so there we go.
Yeah. Bring that up to the camera and they can see.
Yeah. So what are we looking at here? Got the display?
This is the back of the LCD right here with the LCD's control board right there. And then this little tiny board right here, about 1.5 inches square, that's really the brains of the headset. That's got all of the accelerometer, the gyroscope, actually a magnetometer as well, I believe, potentially. And then an ARM Cortex M3U microcontroller in there that samples at, I believe, 1,000 hertz.
Wow.
So really fast refresh rate to be able to capture that movement and get it to the PC as fast as possible.
Let's show them the high-res photos just so they can see it.
So this is just what Eric has already done, prying the thing open and getting it separated. Pulling the screen out the exact same way.
It looks so much nicer on the photos, right? It doesn't look like there's actually any effort involved.
Right.
Because it's after the fact.
So actually we could disconnect that if you like.
I'll go ahead and do that. I'll go the whole thing.
Yeah? Let's see Eric struggling.
Oh gosh, no.
So there's just a little connector that lets you pull the LCD out. It's a pretty standard LCD, just a 7-inch Chimera Imilux, I believe, that's a really big manufacturer in China. So they're
Wiggle this one out.
slated to release, or maybe have already released, a 1080p version with higher resolution displays. So we're looking forward to that, because I noticed it's kind of pixelated when you've got a screen this far from your face. So
it's one display.
One display, displaying two different things. So it just cuts it down the middle.
Interesting. Again.
So we found a timing controller on the LCD, not too much silicon otherwise. And that was just underneath that tape.
Yeah.
So that leaves us with this back panel here. And we're always really interested in what hardware is running on these devices, especially if it's a high-profile fly to Australia or whatever. We're going to open it up and try and identify as much of the silicon as we can. So on this guy, like I said earlier, we've got the Cortex M3 microcontroller. That's a 72 megahertz CPU in a headset. It doesn't sound like a lot, but you know, some of our first computers were a lot slower than that.
Yeah.
And a lot bigger. You didn't wear it on your face.
You didn't wear it on your face, that's for sure.
So, and then also marked up is the gyroscope and the accelerometer.
It's better to stare at the high-resolution photos because you don't have to get up in here.
Right. And after this, you guys can all check out the teardown with all these photos on iFixit.com. Just search for Oculus Rift and you'll find it.
Or if you want, afterwards, we're going to have this completely disassembled. You can come touch and feel and get your nerd on up here.
Yeah, come up and take a look. We're not going to, or I guess you could pry it off with its little foam tape if you want. But the back side is
I'm adventurous. Let's try
pretty
this.
pedestrian. Let's get some prying.
Some prying action? Okay.
So again, that same foam tape holding it together. This is kind of how I would do a project for a first run.
Yeah.
And there it is.
Foam tape on the back, and then I could remove these, but we've got the high resolution image, so
Yeah.
that's what we're looking at.
So there's a bunch of shiny connectors on the back. I assume that's for some kind of testing or debugging. You could set it on a spring contact board and make sure everything works and then move it along down the line.
Yeah. So the development kit. So this is actually tethered together.
Right, single wire that just connects them permanently. And we're done with the headset now. That's all there was in it. So we're going to open up the box here that connects it to the PC.
It's got little rubber feet underneath it that I need to get off to show the screws underneath. Just 4 of them and then 4 Phillips head screws. I love these. I mean, we're a fan of repairability, obviously, so we're a fan of commonly used fasteners. And so Phillips is by far the most commonly used. I need a smaller one because this is a little large. I don't know if you can see that. So I'm going to go down to a 0 as opposed to a 1. Will probably get me there.
Yeah, seeing Phillips screws always makes us happy, especially with Apple's pentalobe screws. I don't want to harp too much, but any of you are familiar with that. Apple released a 5-lobe screw to fit in between the Phillips and the Torx and make it difficult for people to open their devices.
Yeah.
So when that first happened, we had to advise people to wedge a flathead in there to get it open before we were able to reverse engineer it and make our own pentalobe drivers that you can now get very easily.
Okay, so that's off. Now,
How exciting. Green.
yay! Can this just come off with, just pry this out?
Yeah, you can grab it by the cable and just pull it out.
Grab it by the cable.
Doesn't that come up?
Oh yeah, the cable does come off, yeah. So it's just a little notch, I can take the whole thing out. And then there's the empty box. And here's the board.
Maybe show them the ports. So it's got a, let's see, HDMI out or
Yep.
DVI is your option, so it's only digital.
A mini USB?
There's a mini USB, and that's how it sends the mouse and keyboard input signals to the computer.
And then the power.
And then there's also power, which a lot of people found really annoying. You need to plug the thing in with a little wall wart power adapter. It needs 5 volts. So I actually recently read online someone hacked. They ran a power line from the USB port straight over to the barrel jack. The thing needs about 600 milliamps. USB ports from a computer standard will output 500, but generally more. So you're running a bit of a risk, but it'll probably work.
Probably work.
So that's a sort of stable hack that some people have done.
It's a development unit.
Yeah.
Okay, so showing the photos.
So, showing some nice photos. Those are those ports again. You can see crystal clear. And opening it up just like Eric did. Not too much integrated circuits in this entire thing, really. The base unit here has a Realtek display interface controller, so that's what's powering the LCD. So really, they're just a bunch of wires that run from this guy. You can show them that connector on the board here.
Right there.
That big wide connector there is just straight to the LCD. It doesn't even go through the sensor board. And then, other than that, there's a little bit of flash. There's some other ICs that we identified. But that's about it, that Realtek, which just... The thing is really 2 devices melded into one, because it's an input device that registers your movements and sends that back to the computer, to software where it deals with it. And it's an output device because it's got the display that needs to be displayed. But most of all the hard work is handled on your computer in software, where it takes in the input of where you're looking and sends out what it should be showing you. So really, like, the actual hardware on the device is pretty simple.
Yeah, so that's why you need specific games to actually integrate with.
Right, there's a list of supported games that they're expanding, but it's not everything yet. It isn't fully compatible with everything in the world.
But they're working their way down in terms of popularity, so TF2 is obviously hugely popular. That's what it looks like by itself.
So there's the empty board.
Very exciting.
Yeah.
What else do we have to show them?
So this is our final layout shot, just showing all the parts separated in a nice little artsy fashion. And then we assigned it a repairability score, and it did very well, which we were very happy about. So.
Yeah, I mean, the reasons why were, it's standard Phillips screws. We love to see that. There wasn't anything that was really glued together in this, and that's ease of manufacturing, maybe thing that people typically do for things that are, just massively produced. But there is a consequence of serviceability. Glue is hard to get through. So the more you can use tabs or fasteners that are commonly found, the less glue you can use, the better serviceability the device is going to have and the longer lifetime the device is going to have. If something breaks on, so imagine for example, if you couldn't get into your laptop, to expand your hard drive, right? How many times would you have needed to buy a new computer? So that's what we try and harp on with these repairability scores a bit. Is there anything else that we found that went into that?
Oh, back into it? The one downside was that foam tape.
Yeah, adhesive.
But really, it's something that if you know about it in advance, you're not going to break anything separating it.
It's a strong adhesive. I was prying that thing off, and it's been taken off numerous times.
Yeah, and the really important thing about our repairability score is it's preliminary and tentative. This isn't their full consumer version yet.
Yeah.
We'll be sure and get that when it comes out and tear it down. So look for that.
Yeah.
And we'll see if anything's changed.
Yeah.
We'll be looking for.